So I will call to order the July 14th, 2025 meeting of the Village of Wesley Chapel Council. You will rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and pray with me. Lord God, we just thank you for the day you've given us, Lord. We thank you for our village. We thank you for all the blessings you've given our village. Lord, we pray that in the meeting tonight we do things that will not only bring honor to each other, but also to your name. As we pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. That leads us to public comments, and we have Ms. Barb Ballard here. If you will come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Barb Ballard. I live at 324 Gatewood Lane in Matthews, North Carolina. And I'm here more so as the place where I work. So I work at Huntington Learning Center in Wesley Chapel, obviously. And that intersection right there at Waxhaw Indian Trail Road, where, so like, if you're coming from here, and you get to the light up here and you turn right, there's that first turn, that left, going into the Food Lion Shopping Center. I've been working at Huntington for 9 years, and I only work in the evenings on Thursdays, but there was a good while that every single Thursday there was a wreck there, because they have the lanes going straight, and then they have that turn lane. So people will come and shoot around in that turn lane while other people are telling people to come along, and they'll turn in, and there's wrecks there all the time. The reason I'm most concerned about this is we have about 30 to 40 high school students that come into Huntington every evening, and there's been a couple of them that have been in wrecks there. We've had a few teachers that have been in wrecks there, to the point where in the last 6 months or so, when I first meet with parents and the students and they sign up for our program, I tell them, hey, this intersection's right here, really bad, don't use it. If you're going to come that way, go up to that next one, which is like by the buzz, you can turn in there. So I'm basically here to express my concerns about that intersection. And that's it.
Thank you. You're welcome. That brings us to additions, deletions, and adoption of the agenda. I know we wanted to move the audit contract up to consent as it has received the attorney's approval. So I'd like to move item 5D up to consent for our annual audit contract. And then if council's okay, we can move item 5B, the Meals and Wheels interlocal agreement, to consent also, if that's okay with council.
I prefer to leave it as an item.
Okay.
And,
Are you okay with the audit contract?
I am okay with the audit contract.
Okay. Anybody else have additions, deletions, changes?
I would like to add 5E, I guess, just going with what we had, to replace finance office planner.
Anyone else?
I would like to move, because I only have one very simple question on 4E, to an agenda item outside of the consent agenda. I'm not sure where we want to put it.
Planning.
That'll be fine.
So 4E, just E.
Yes, the RS and H contract.
So we'll just put it as C under the planning department.
Okay.
Alright. Anything else? I would like to, that's it. Is that good? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the mentioned changes.
So motion.
All in favor? Thank you, unanimous. Then that brings us to the consent agenda of the 514 budget minutes, regular council meeting minutes from June, benchmark contract, Kimley Horn TIA contract, and the audit contract.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Then that brings us to the finance officer report.
Okay. Okay, so for a financial report, we don't have any reports yet. We're still reconciling month-end, year-end because of June 30th, so we're still working on that, so the reports aren't final yet. When they are, I'll get those sent out to you. They are bringing in some additional CLA resources from an audit perspective to help make sure we're ready, because where we transition systems in the middle of a budget year, which is not normally recommended, but we did that switch, that it gets more complicated. So they're trying to make sure we have everything ready for the auditor so that that can go smoothly, and then just make sure everything else is up to date as it should be. Also, I did email the adopted budget. It's also on the website, and we have other copies available if needed. Just a reminder that in that adopted budget message, we did adopt making sure that we keep in the unassigned fund balance at least 25% of the budget amount, as well as $250,000 a year for the dam, in case we don't get the FEMA grant, and $250,000 for future road improvements per year for 3 years, I think. Just to help us know that we're setting that money aside, but not officially assigning it. So it's available, but we're just setting it aside for that purpose. And as we've gone through it and doing the budgeting process, as I mentioned during the budget meeting, I think, is that the unassigned fund balance is not to be used for routine, reoccurring cost. It is only to be used for one-time cost, and I'm sure that we've always abided by that. And so it's something we need to be more careful of. And in working with the NCLM liaison for Black Mountain, it's been here last week, and he went here at the meeting. And just talking about the budgets in general, the recommendation is really to keep 100% of the budget in the unassigned fund balance for small towns, especially to make sure that if you go through a rough economic period, that you're able to get it, because many of your revenues are delayed. Like, we'll still get revenues for the past fiscal year in August. And so just because of that delay, you can run into periods where you have no revenue, but you have expenses. And so it's kind of doing that. And he also shared with me that there was examples of small towns who would just routinely, use one example, one person who said, well, I was trained if the budget didn't bounce, just take the money from there, and they ended up with enough money. And so just that understanding of it and everything else, I think, is really important. So that's that. The Meals on Wheels agreement, we all, council approved spending $10,000 last year. Nothing happened with that, nothing came through. For this fiscal year, Union County sent us an interlocal agreement for us to sign to cover for 2 residents to be put on the frozen meal plan. So you did want to put on the consent agenda. Do you have questions?
I do, yeah. Austin Powers once in his movie said that you've got to ask 3 times about the third question, you've got to tell the truth. Okay? I don't remember which movie it was, but it's pretty cool. I'm going to say this 3 times because I want you guys to realize how important I feel Meals on Wheels is. I think I shared this in the meeting maybe 2 months ago. My mom was a recipient of the Meals on Wheels, and it was a huge, huge help for her. I understand how important Meals on Wheels is. However, it is a private, nonprofit agency. And while I tried to search earlier to see how many private, nonprofit agencies service Wesley Chapel or Union County, I couldn't find a number. But I know there's many nonprofit agencies. We've got a nonprofit agency that has a number of ball fields right down the road that serve an incredible amount of kids and impacts their lives. There's a nonprofit agency in Monroe that protects the unborn. Hugely important. Churches. How valuable is the soul of a person? You can't put a number on that. There's a number of private nonprofit agencies that probably, just like Meals on Wheels, need help. It's the second time I'm going to say it. I support Meals on Wheels. I do, and I know how valuable it is. I know how important of a service it is for the elderly. But if you look at it, There's a Union County Senior Center that basically serves a similar function. It gives senior citizens a chance to get out, and it also provides meals. And that is not funded the same way as Meals on Wheels. It's funded primarily by the state tax, or the sales tax for local improvements and development. I'll also remind you that whenever this came up to the Union County Human Services Board, they came to an impasse in March. They couldn't agree on that. I feel like the Union County Human Services Board has a better handle on what's going on with this agency than we do. It's the third time I'm going to say it. Meals on Wheels is very important to me. I know how much it helped my mom. I know how much it helped my family. But I am very, very worried about starting to fund a private nonprofit agency that historically has been funded by federal, state, and county dollars and volunteer donations. I'm very concerned about us setting a precedent by doing this. Meals on Wheels is very important. I don't want to open up a box with this.
And I understand that because I mean, I agree with you. In principle, I do agree with you on that. And this was one I know several people felt very strongly about. I think for me, the concern is, and I agree with you, once you do it, then you set a precedent. I don't think it's a great precedent to set. But at the same time, we know at the federal and state level, they are cutting funds to human services and to the safety net that is there for the elderly, for the sick, the poor, or anyone else. And so within cutting those safety nets, I think everybody keeps thinking it's all going to go to the locality. The localities will start picking it up. And that may be the future we have to reckon with, is that if we want to do things for our residents, it's all going to become incumbent upon us to do that. And that might be through interlocal agreements with the county to provide those services, but I think this is just the first of many that we might be seeing them come to us for money.
When we were first talking about this, it was brought up that because Wesley Chapel is unable to provide a lot of services because of our low tax rate, this was one thing we could do. And, going back to that, I mean, it's a way of looking at, we're helping our seniors. We're offering this one thing. I mean, it's not like we,
Okay, about on that, Deb, I'm going to play the devil's advocate.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
Is helping an unborn baby any less important than helping a senior citizen? And there's a private nonprofit agency that is not in Wesley Chapel, but is in Union County, that is doing that.
yeah, but I think you have to do it on a case-by-case basis. Meals on Wheels came to us and asked for help.
WCWAA also came to us and asked for help, and we said no because they're a nonprofit.
We said no because we were not making charitable contributions. I think more specific, more broadly, we were like, we're not making donations to other organizations.
Understood.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
kind of the context we had that conversation in.
Yeah.
And I think there were others.
I just think you have to take it on a case-by-case. You just can't, to me, I mean, I know you're saying we're setting a precedent, but we also, I think we have to have a little bit of leeway in making decisions on what we support and what we don't support.
For me, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a park that we can't control who goes to and enjoys the services or the programs. But we have two people who live within our borders that we've been asked to get them off a waiting list so they can have meals. And to me, that's a no-brainer. And if somebody else comes up with a need, that's something we'd have to consider at that time. Mike, do you have a comment?
I just have more of a general comment that you can take it for what it's worth. I have no problem spending the residents' tax dollars, provided we collect the tax dollars to go for what we agreed to pay for. We don't take money for roads, but we're paying for road improvements. We don't take in taxes for a lot of things. And if we're not taking taxes in to pay for nonprofits or these type of programs, then sending the money out, you're just going to have a line of people standing at the podium within 6 months.
Okay. So is there any kind of motion?
I motion we keep it status quo, what we've done. I don't know, no changes.
So you make a motion to approve the Meals on Wheels interlocal agreement and budget amendment for $3,962.40.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Woo-hoo.
So I get to break the tie. I'm in favor.
And get to break the tie.
And then that brings us to the P&G easement payment for the tree replacement.
Yes, so previously when we were reviewing the information and the agreement with P&G where they're relocating the pipeline and everything else, there was a lot of conversation about the need and that we would get some reimbursement from them, payment for that, and that we intended to use that to replace the trees, to replace some of the buffer, particularly with the neighboring adjacent houses there. And so just asking that, since we previously discussed that, council wants to approve assigning $33,460 to the assigned fund balance for tree replacement.
What was that amount again?
What was what?
The amount, 33,000?
$33,460.
So we need a motion to assign that amount, so when those trees come down, we can begin to remediate between us and the neighbors and us and the shopping center, whatever we feel led to do.
So one of the reasons we were making these agreements was so that we wouldn't have to cut down a lot of trees. Is that changed?
Well, they have to cut out that corner, and that's the amount they agreed to pay us. So we won't be able to plant $30,000 worth in that corner. So this is to remediate. Them cutting those down saves some additional trees
Okay.
for back here.
Okay.
This is just to go ahead and assign the money because they won't be done doing it all. They might not be done doing it all this fiscal year. We may not want to remediate till next fall.
Okay.
So this is to assign it so it can't be used for something else. We're
Okay.
earmarking it so we know exactly what that money's for.
We're going to be assisting them in choosing the trees to be replaced?
Well, we're going to be the ones spending the money, so I'm
Oh,
assuming
good.
we would have the urban forest.
Okay, yeah.
In
Good,
on it.
good. Okay.
So I need a motion, or you have more comments?
No, I'll make a motion that we set aside $33,460 for payment for tree replacement.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And the last item on the finance agenda that we added was to replace the finance office printer. So the printer, it's slowly dying function by function, and we need to replace it. It stopped, the Wi-Fi stopped, the scanning stopped, so it was just kind of a matter of time, and every time it stopped and interacting with IT to try to figure it out and see if it could be fixed, it's cost us a lot of time for our contractor to sit there without the ability to complete work. So I'd like to buy a new printer. I'd like to get it approved for not to exceed $1,000. Right now I think we can get it for less than $600, but with tariffs and what's available to get something comparable to what we currently have, I just ask for the higher number just in case, but would like to go ahead with that purchase.
Declare on this a purchase and not a lease. It's a
A
straight up
purchase.
purchase.
Yeah, we're going to lease anything costs $500.
So is there a motion?
Yeah, so motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. That brings, or anything else?
One last thing on finance, and I don't want to hit this one too hard. I appreciate you stepping up to take care of the finance stuff in the unique situation that we're in here with being a councilwoman and also being the finance officer. The question I have is, as the finance officer, are you still making decisions on whether people can or cannot spend money on anything here at the village, or is that something the council still gets to make the call on?
Nothing has changed, and if you read the budget ordinance, there is a way in there that there are certain levels to be approved. We have a finance policy that also lists certain things, none of that's changed. And so basically, if it's a large purchase like the printer, $500 or more, it's here for you guys, but we're not going to come to council and ask for office supplies. 'cause
No,
that's
I'm
the
not talking
reason
about
it's
those
done. So there's no change in the policy, there's no change in the budget ordinance, also lists out what's possible, so that was no change.
I've been gone for the last 3 weeks, but when I came back, I was told there were some things that we would have normally purchased at the end of the fiscal year, before the end of June, that didn't get purchased,
Such as,
like movie projector for the Parks and Rec.
I don't know why they didn't purchase a screen before the end of the year. It had nothing to do with me.
That was the committee.
That was.
Okay, so
They
I was
decided
told,
not to.
I was told different.
Say that again, Amy?
From my understanding, it was not at the last meeting, but I think Joel told me they decided not to,
Okay, that's not what I was told, so
Right.
my apologies.
and they never picked one out for it to be ordered, so.
Okay, I was told something different. So, fair enough.
And so, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And the only other thing I would like to do is I'd like to thank John for the work he did to make sure we got all this stuff installed and everything, and the invoice and everything, and so it was in the last fiscal year. He stayed right on top of that and everything, and I really appreciated him doing that. Any other questions?
All right, that brings us to the mayor report. Mr. Kennery has kindly agreed to serve as planning board chair again, correct?
Yes.
So I need council to appoint Michael Kennery to be planning board chair for the next term.
So motion.
Sarah?
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Kennery, for continuing to serve. And then we need to appoint the Butch Byram to be the Board of Adjustment chair also. He has agreed to continue that role. So if there's a motion,
So motion.
second.
I'll second, let
Okay.
David. be primary.
All in favor?
When's the last time the Board of Adjustment did that?
It's been about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have to be ready, just in
Yes,
case.
exactly.
Remember there was a few meetings, like, years ago.
And then the Western Union Municipal Alliance meeting, we did not meet in July, we take that month off. It was just kind of a normal, regular meeting. We kind of talked about some of the summer programming that different people have going on. Everybody had approved their budget, and talked about the challenges of that. The challenges again of more state legislation sneaking in under different titles and different names, and having to stay diligent for that. And that's really it. There was no huge out for that, other than everybody commenting on being very careful what you say when your microphone's on, because Waxaw had a little bit of a excitement. So then I'll go on into code enforcement. We have started working with Alliance Code Enforcement. We gave them, Amy and I met with them, we gave them our previous notes of open cases and closed cases. They went out, they did find 12 violations. I know it hit home because we had somebody, the day he went out, we had somebody in here before 5 o'clock complaining. So I know somebody's taken notice. So 12 cases, one was unfounded, but there are currently 11 notices of violation out there. So the ball is rolling and is continuing to roll, and I'm hoping that the particular areas where we're seeing repeat offenders will start to clear up.
But we're not starting from scratch on any of these, right?
No, he took our list and went running from there.
Not a first notice or anything like that.
He is working straight from our list.
I don't know if this is the appropriate place for it or not, but under code enforcement, can we talk about sign sweep? Or is
Sure.
that different?
No, we can talk about it.
That's a different company or a different person doing sign sweeps?
Yes.
Okay. Are we still doing that on a set schedule, or is it just as needed?
Every other week.
What's that?
Does every other week on
Every other
Sundays
week,
usually.
okay,
So,
all right. I've seen a lot of weird signs out, and
If you notice like a particular area, I have let Amy know in the past and he's taken care of it pretty quickly.
okay. As long as it's not, as long as it's on a regular basis, every 2 weeks is fine.
Okay. All right, any questions about code enforcement? I will bring you an update on this, an update again next month. That brings us to the Dogwood Park report. Mr. Lepke, if you would like to come up.
Well, the update on the park, it's hot. It's really hot out there. Just before I do parks, I was going to ask a question when you were talking about the tree remediation around here of the 33,000. Do you have a landscaping plan, and do you have a plan to irrigate those trees when they go in? Because new trees need irrigation or they won't get established. So is there a landscaping plan for remediation?
They gave us money in that amount for irrigation. I don't think we have a plan until we see exactly what comes down and where we want to.
Right, so
But I'm happy to involve you in that.
Right, we're going to probably have to tap into the existing irrigation system here and run the water to where the new trees are, so you need to be thinking about that in your 23 plan.
And we're probably
Right.
at least a year away from that.
Couple requests to council. I wrote the job description for the helper at the park a long time ago. It's now in the budget, it's been budgeted, that's been approved. Can I go ahead and post the job to begin finding candidates?
Would you be doing it, or would Amy?
I would imagine Amy would post the job and then I would probably do the interview,
I'm happy.
unless council directs me different.
Works for me.
That's fine.
I'm assuming, John, you would write the job description?
It's done. It was
Done.
done several months ago, yeah.
Yeah,
So, good to go with that?
works for
I'll
me.
work with Amy on that. Tree work, you budgeted 12 grand for tree work for the year. Half of that was to take care of the work that wasn't done at the end of last year. I have that scheduled with our existing tree service contractor, so we don't need to bid it, we've got a contract in place. And I'm planning to get them out this weekend to do 2 full days to take care of all the remaining dead and leaning trees, unless somebody says don't do that. Okay. On the pond dredging, I run into a bit of an issue. As you know, Amy Black was our engineer for an awful long time. She left LJB and we were assigned a new engineer. He visited the park, I went over everything with him. Again, I come back from the beach after George approved the RFP, and he's gone from the company.
Jeez.
So now I don't know who I've got to support me for this work. I don't know if we want to continue working with LJB. Amy's gone to a new engineering company. Do we want to switch to the new engineering company and get back Amy? Or do we stick with LJB and see if they've got me another engineer? Because I need support from an engineer for that project. So I've not issued the bid because I don't know how I'm going to get support right now.
Do you have a recommendation?
I really liked Amy. I thought she was really
Did Amy
cool.
go work for another engineering company?
Yes.
But then wouldn't we have to rebid and all the things?
I don't know. I don't know what the terms of your contract are with LJB. I wasn't involved in selecting LJB. But I do know I've now lost the 2 engineers that were experienced. With
Well, what's LJB's management saying? Anything?
I haven't talked to them yet.
Is the new person Cindy? I think they did
No,
send a new
Cindy's the
person.
boss. Cindy was Amy's boss.
Well, at least they're copying the boss on the,
Right. Thomas was the new Amy. Thomas is now gone. I sent him an email to follow up on the RFP, and I got a response back. Thomas is no longer with the company.
Well, then the question would be, who is? Who's going to take a responsibility?
well, I can reply to that last email, see who is our contact now.
I think that if they're unable to give us somebody, we have no choice but to rebid the contract.
To like an engineer.
And go, and for an engineering company to work specifically on the dam project.
And if Amy just went to a different company, that would be a lot easier.
It's like starting at square one again with an engineer, another site visit, another long discussion.
Yeah, or a different, worse yet, a different conclusion based on a different engineer's vision.
All right, so just wanted to let you know about that.
And on that point, I don't think it would be out of place to ask LBJ.
LJB.
Why is everybody leaving?
Well, why, yeah, why, I mean, I don't think it's out of place. If you've had 2 engineers leave,
In 6
then,
months.
Say when you
how
come,
big of a span?
6
Four
months.
months.
4 months, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And
if it
Amy
was me
did-
personally, I'd want a little more assurance that, hey, you guys are gonna be here for the next.
Yeah, well, that's my
Start,
concern.
don't want to start a project and have the engineer bail on you again.
And we were doing this, I think we picked them for the whole dam rebuild project, so that's a big
Correct.
project.
Right.
It's not just this little dredging project.
So Amy
We're
is,
still doing it.
Amy has done all the planning for the rebuild. And then she did the initial work on the clearing out, demucking, and then kind of dropped it halfway. Then Thomas picked it up. We finished it with Thomas, but he was pushing through the permits and going to be responding to the state dam safety people on permit questions, and now I don't got no one right now.
Sending the email asking for,
Who's our new?
and expressing our concern about the staffing changes, copying me.
Thank you.
And if we come back and say that kid ass is too hard to deal with.
I don't think so. So a request to council to waive our normal procurement process on the pump controller. I asked the people who installed, designed, and have always worked on our system at the park, done all the expansions, to send a quote. They did, in line with the budget. Ordinarily, our policy says we need to get 3 bids for anything over $1,000. However, I don't know who else is certified by the manufacturer to work on that stuff, and I feel uncomfortable with somebody brand new coming in and messing with the system. So I'd like to ask council to consider waiving the 3-bid RFP process in this case, to go with the contractor we know, and the contractor we know is trained by the system manufacturer.
And not only designed it, but installed it.
Installed it.
Yeah, that's
He's done all the expansions, knows where all the wires are.
Yeah, so nobody, I think, up here would debate that we'd like that same company back, but our policy states, as John said, we need bids. But it's our policy, and so council is empowered to vote an exception or to exempt ourselves from that policy for this particular decision to award the contract to that company.
Union Grove.
Union Grove. So that is within the
I think it's reasonable,
possibility of council to do, if they so choose.
I think it's reasonable given the parameters of this particular situation that I don't think anyone's going to object. You got the most qualified person that knows the history of the system more than anybody else. That's who we should stick with.
So is there a motion to,
Exempt ourselves from the financial policy regarding 3 bids.
over $5,000
Over
to
$5,000.
continue working with Union Grove?
So motion.
Second,
Any further discussion?
Do we have an idea of what the cost will be with Union
Yeah.
Grove?
Yeah, we got a quote for him, $5,000.
5,000?
And that's in the budget, because that's the next budget number.
All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, council. One other topic, the flock camera access. I don't know if it was the last council meeting or the one before, we had representatives from the sheriff's department here, kind of asking me to be triage on the flock camera. We talked to them about getting access. I've not heard anything back. So what I'm suggesting I do, if it's all good with council, I'll contact Flock directly, ask them to give me access to our system, set alarms if we feel that's appropriate, that will call the deputies out in the night if anybody's in the park, and that will also allow me to get to the insights page where I can download reports of how many people visited the park each month, so I can let council know we have 5,000 visitors, 8,000 visitors, which is what I'm really interested in, knowing how much the park is used, having data about that.
Well, it's a great system. I just don't think we're utilizing it to its full scale.
Oh, and we were sold a bag of goods. It's ridiculous. We have spent thousands of dollars on that Flock system that the sheriff's office came and told us would be good, it would help us. And then John asked me for this information. We found out, oh no, there's nothing. They are basically wanting us to pay for camera surveillance for them to help them find stolen cars. That is all they're interested in. They did not want to have anything to do with us. If that alarms are coming out or anything else, we could pay extra for that. So we were sold a bill of goods on that.
But we have not had a single car break-in since we
Which
had
has
the
nothing to
cameras.
do with the cameras, because they're not working. I mean, they're not alarming or anything else. But I mean, that it was sold under false premises that we are basically doing and paying for something the sheriff's office should do. At the same time, we have to pay for a deputy, even though we are covered by Union County. And so that's my rant on that. But in regards to John having access to the camera, I guess it's kind of a legal question. Is there any concerns? I know we have a security camera policy, but is there any concerns with, or anything else we need to do or change or whatever if he's going to have access?
So, security camera footage is public record. The location of the cameras and the design of the system is not. And I don't recall what I remember that policy being bantered about and adopted at some point in time.
It's been a few
I don't
years.
remember what's in it.
I think we just limited who was to look at it.
Yeah, so it might
just be,
might-
you having a wild idea and come look at it.
Yeah, so it might just be a matter of, you all authorizing John to be one of those authorized parties. Again, you want to kind of mirror whatever language is in that policy. I guess since he's not, there's not really anything to keep confidential. I guess maybe you want to just, if it doesn't already say in there, specify that the issues relating to the location should be.
But I don't want to be the one having to show up if there's trespass in the park in the middle of the night.
No, this is just access to the camera.
Right.
Well, I guess my bigger question is, we're using the security cameras more for statistics versus for security. Do we need to have a separate policy for that? We're counting the number of cars coming in versus we're specifically looking for, to use it as a security camera versus using it as a counter or,
I don't think that's a distinction. That's a nuanced question, but I don't think that's a distinction.
I don't think Flock can delineate access between the insights page and looking at the camera footage. Because when I asked them, they said, no. They came back to me and said, you need to ask those that are authorized, i.e. Union County Sheriff's Department, to go into the system and generate that insight report for you, because they have access, I don't.
Which is why we set it up that
And then
way,
I asked them to
because
do
they-
that, and they said, no, we're not going to do that.
Exactly. So the only other thing I would say, and we can read that policy just to make sure we need to update it or not. The only other thing I'd say, John, is you need a village email address to use for that access and everything else. It should not be your personal email. We can get that taken care of.
And we're aiming to get that email set.
yeah, but
But
once,
it's gonna, the alarms ping cell phones, so.
Yeah, and we understand that. I mean, I got the access for the bank account authorization thing on my personal cell phone, because we don't have village cell phones.
Right.
Although maybe we should.
All right, then the last thing, I'm just gonna mention again, last meeting, Amanda, you said you were gonna put it on the agenda, but you didn't. That's the DIY lawn care thing.
But we do need to talk about it.
David, you weren't here last month, and since we referenced your name in your absence, we thought we'd talk about it again. Yeah, we didn't say anything negative about it.
So I presented council with a very simple business model. During my career, I've been involved in some really complex business modeling, business acquisitions, $60 million investment in a new region, looking forward 20 years, a lot of uncertainty in those models. And I've done very simple models, which is you keep buying raw material from a supplier, or you start making it yourself, a make or buy decision. Those are relatively simple models, and what I presented to council is a very simple model. We continue to pay somebody to do it, or we do it ourselves. I think the numbers are self-evident. I've not heard a very strong argument from anybody against it. It can save somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year for the taxpayer for the next decade. That's how far I looked out. I built in increasing maintenance as the equipment ages. Even if we had to replace the equipment after 5 years, it's still saving the taxpayer an awful lot of money. Personally, I don't care whether you do it or not. I just presented you with an opportunity to save an awful lot of money, and I've not heard any solid arguments against.
And John, correct me if I'm wrong, with the landscaping contract, we're paying for 12 months out of the year. So they take the season, they divide it up into 12 sections, and you pay every month.
So,
Even in the winter when we're not having the lawn mowed.
a simple comparison, the contract is about 50 grand a year. And if you spend 50 grand one time on the capital equipment to do it ourselves, for which we have the labour, that's the next 10 years you're not spending that 50 grand or 55 grand or 60 grand as inflation increases that. But it involves a capital outlay up front of 50 grand instead of giving it to the contractor over the year. One concern that was raised was storage, where do we store it? In that 50 grand, we can not only buy the equipment, we could also pour a concrete slab, put up a 10 by 14 garage building that you can get on Amazon for $1,000.
Where?
Next
Where did you put it?
next to the existing storage container. That would be the preferred option. Lower cost would be to spend $2,300 plus delivery getting a 20-foot storage container that we could plonk down in the park. Last resort, we could reorganize the existing storage container, but that would mean shuffling things in and out all the time to get equipment out almost on a daily basis. So I think this is a reasonable model. I've not heard anybody challenge the assumptions I've put in the model. The numbers are all pretty certain.
And you can't buy a mower to go on the tractor.
Sorry?
You can't buy a mower blade that to go on the tractor won't
You
support that.
can. So there is a mower deck that the tractor can roll over, pick up.
Yeah.
However, I've looked at the equipment those guys use, and some of the hills at the park are like this, that need mowing. I would be uncomfortable on the tractor mowing like this, whereas those stand-behind mowers, which is what I've suggested we buy, they seem to zip up and down that hill no problem, because they're much lower center of gravity than the tractor.
And I was under the impression that the reason we were hiring another part-time person for the park, which we just approved him to post, is to do things like mow the grass and do the trimming, mowing, other maintenance issues.
That wasn't my assumption. My assumption was that the help was that there's just so much to do in general already, and then whenever John is not here, everything breaks loose, it falls apart, and that we kind of needed that continuity for that, and then there's already a lot going on.
There's already far more to do in a day, and it's just
Right.
things get pushed off till I've got time to do it.
Yeah.
So we'll bring a few things forward now. I've got help. We've agreed to 19 hours a week for the helper. I know from watching the contractor when he arrives on site, Sometimes it's 2 guys for 4 hours. So that's 8 hours a week is the labor. Other days when they're doing the edges and spraying pesticide, it's longer. But I'm saying you got about 12 hours a week maximum involved in the actual lawn care. So we have the resource to do it. And it's a simple make or buy decision. Do we continue to pay somebody, or do we buy the equipment and do it ourselves?
I think if we were talking about this with the budget, I think what I said was that for me, tying you guys down to having to do the landscaping becomes problematic to me, because there's other things that we want done, and that commits you to those 12 hours a week or whatever for that period of time. Whereas with a landscaping company, they're going to be here, and if they have an employee out, vacation, that's up to them to figure out, and to make sure somebody's here all the time so we don't have to worry about it. I think the other thing is that you're talking about a large stand behind mower and everything for the park and the storage building, but there's also a need here at the village hall for lawn care, and you haven't really spoken to that. My understanding was it would be a storage building in the back somewhere.
Small shed, that was
Small shed.
one long one.
And then somebody's going to come in and pick up and steal the whole shed or break into, because we already have people hanging around here. So that just feels like we're just asking for more trouble with that. But it was more about tying you guys down to always having to cut grass instead of doing the other improvements and things and interacting with the visitors like you do. That was my opinion. And I still stand by
It's up
that.
to you guys. I presented you with an opportunity to save a bunch of money.
You're also frustrated by their work, aren't you?
Yeah.
They've caused some problems and
Every single contractor we've had at the park, I learn from one, revise the specification to address issues I had with the previous contract. They all fall into the mow, blow, and go. And you got to be on the phone with them all the time. You're supposed to hand weed around the playground. You've not weeded in a month. You're supposed to empty the trash cans. You've not emptied the trash can at the dog park again. It's full of dog poo. Come and get it. It's constantly having to follow up with them to get them to come and do things that are in the contract.
Maybe we take that part out of the contract, if we have help.
And then we got to rebid it, revise the spec, rebid it for a lower amount of work. If you want it to be just mow, blow, and go, anybody can mow, blow, and go,
including us.
including us.
And I said I would defer to David's expertise in this area.
But David, you weren't here last month.
No, but I think this was brought up 2 months ago. The business model I've seen, I've looked at it. Okay, I gotta say this 3 times, I guess. I love my wife, I love my wife, I love my wife, okay? But, and this is Council David's story time tonight, I guess. But we did a remodel on our house, and I had a certain amount set aside for that. I had a budget for that. And we did great. We came within that budget. I did not know about the soft cost that come along with this that my wife introduced me to after the fact, which were just about as much as the remodel itself. Amy, don't put that in the minutes, please. But what I'm concerned with, I agree, Lori, with everything that you said, but also I'm concerned about the soft costs that come along with this. You know, how do we sharpen the blades? What happens when a tire goes flat? How do we store the fuel for this? You know, do we need a reservoir around the fuel tank? So many other soft costs that we may or may not be taking into that model.
So in the model, if I may, first year since everything's under warranty, I put 0 maintenance. Years 4 through 5% of the capital cost. Now, for comparison, if you buy a new car, are you expecting to pay 5% maintenance cost on a new car in the first 5 years per annum? I think that's way conservative. And in years 6 through 10, I allocate 10% of the original capital cost for maintenance to cover sharpening the blades, buying a new blade, buying a new chain, filters, The other part was in a separate budget line, which I think was super, super high. I got 10,000 per annum inflated at 5% over the decade for fertilizer, seeds, straw, pesticides, and that's way more than the current contractors pay.
But again, I go back to what Lori said, I think adding that to what we have now, I feel like would overburden you guys. And the other thing is, I don't know that I necessarily like the municipality owning a lot of equipment. I think I've shared this with you before. With the, between the three companies that I'm a part of, you know, we generate $150 million in sales. We frame over 5 million square feet a year. And we own 0 pieces of equipment. We rent it all because we've run the cost studies and realized that we can rent a whole lot better than we can buy and maintain. So, you know, I know, saying that, I know we've got a tractor, but I would be concerned about the maintenance of additional equipment, additional storage, you know, additional buildings, all of that. That's my 2 cents.
I feel like we could have 4 full-time people at the park and it would still need more stuff. So I'd rather you and your assistant
Like I said,
spend it
I
on,
don't care. I present you with an opportunity to save money. If you don't want to follow it, that's fine.
well, you did get a nice shout out from a resident in the audience whose children are really enjoying your mini golf course.
Soon to be way better.
Mike, what do you think about it?
I think we have a more than overly qualified Parks and Rec director.
Yeah, but what do you think about?
Because most Parks and Rec directors can't come to us and say, you know, 5% of this, 10% of that, over advertised over a 10-year period, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. You're overqualified, John.
And it's also,
I think when we first opened the park, it was, well, there's a lot of other things going on, let's put it off for the first year. And that was back in 2014. It's, you know, been 11 years. And we would have, if we had pulled the trigger the day we had opened the park and bought our own equipment, we would have saved, I don't know, $100,000 by now.
One could argue there was a lot of stuff we should have done before now, but we haven't. So,
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
yeah. So I don't hear a motion to proceed with purchasing equipment.
I'll make a motion if anybody will give me a second.
And I'll second it.
So yeah, I'll motion that we consider purchasing the equipment because I respect and want to hear the rebuttal from everybody. And if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass. I'm, you know.
All right, so there's a motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
All right. Discussion. I think we've discussed pretty.
We've already hit the discussion.
So all in favor?
All in favor of what? I'm sorry.
All in favor of purchasing equipment? So that's 2, Deb, Como, and Bledsoe, all opposed.
Okay.
That's Bailey and,
You
Two
can wait.
tiebreakers in one night.
Tiebreakers.
Oh my gosh.
sorry, John, I want you and
but
your assistant doing things beside cutting grass. All right. Thank you for your hard work at the park. Employee of the Millennium.
We'll try again some other time.
All right, that brings us to Permanent Events Committee. Chair Down is sick and unable to be here. The car show went really well. It was very well populated. A lot of attendees. I think there are a couple questions about the budget from a couple council members, but the July event was canceled. So I'm assuming they're just going to meet per usual in July, and they'll report out then. I think one of the budget questions was, and Joe isn't here to speak to it, but that a large portion of the budget was the bouncy house and the bubble stuff, and Like, was there truly enough, was that a satisfactory expense when the majority of attendees were adults?
It's a cost.
Yes. So just some things for the committee to consider. If it's more of an adult event, what, if anything, should you have?
I think we marketed it as a family event, and there were a lot of younger kids there, a lot of families.
I don't know the number of how much we spent on that bouncy house, but
70%,
yeah, 70% of your budget targeted the children. I just don't know.
But we had a good turnout, not only with vehicles, but with visitors, and it was well received. We had overflow all the way out to the road. So,
Amy, did we ever get the runners up their trophies that we had to order?
Yeah, they're ready. I picked them up on Thursday, and so it wasn't here Friday.
Okay.
it also made it that a really nice connection with the School of Rock, who not only performed, they did a great job. They want to consider coming out and visiting the park and seeing the amphitheater that we have there, and possibly utilizing that, considering they're literally a quarter of a mile from the park, over the Ferris Theater Shopping Center. And they look forward to working with us in the future. With,
Yeah, and on that, I spoke to the ladies out in the School of Rock here. They are coordinating with the School of Rock in Charlotte, and quarterly, they are seeking a venue for their students to play music.
Yeah.
I said, oh, quarterly, we have an event where we could have live music. So I said, with a little coordination, we can probably get School of Rock to play, for the kids to come and play at our events.
And the great thing about them at the car show is all we had to provide them was an outlet. They brought it.
But pending their name change to School of Rock Wesley Chapel.
Are they changing the name?
Well, they should have.
I
They're not
specifically-
located in.
I don't know the background. She did say something about.
I specifically addressed that with her, and she said she would look into it.
Very good. Good. All right, so that leads us to the planning board report. Mr. Deputy Kennery, you want to?
Thank you, John. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to serve the village for another period of time. Just like to thank everyone being here on Bastille Day. Thank you, French Independence Day. And I want to wish you all a happy anniversary. Tomorrow is the anniversary of the village. Can't miss it. Been staring at it for an hour. Just like to say that the June 23rd Village of Wesley Planning Board meeting was a rousing success, well attended. Had to kick them out the door. We went over the Stormwater Ordinance Amendment, TA 2501, and we approved it. We had a lot of discussion on the Stormwater Amendment. I believe that we came to a good agreement that it would not affect the future residents or homeowners association in the village. And I believe that we came with a good plan that would be able to facilitate what we were looking for, was to help mitigate the stormwater here in the future. We obviously cannot correct it at the moment right now, but in the future, I think that we'll be able to lessen some of the issues. And if there are issues, there'll be some funds for the HOAs or their minor subdivisions to correct the issue with the stormwater. That was the whole part of the meeting, and we gave our ideas, suggestions, and corrections to the science, and she did a wonderful job. Anybody here last night lost their power? Very good. The transformer popped by Taylor Glen right there on the road by Wesley Woods, causing nothing but little inconveniences for us here as it burned. As you know, the roundabout is moving forward. I speak to the gentlemen, the construction workers on a regular daily about the issues that they have there. Very, very proud to see the traffic light go down. Very proud today to see the street get ripped up. So we're moving forward there. As you know, we've had an increase of traffic on what road? Jim Parker.
That's a surprise.
Surprise, right?
It wasn't the official.
So are they on schedule?
They have until September 1st, the government says, DOT, correct?
I don't know if I know they're behind schedule and we got to run into
It's
them.
only been a week.
It's only been a week. It's only been a week.
Sometimes it's been a week and they're already 2 weeks behind.
So that's, like I said, our meeting was quick and fruitful. That's about it. Anybody has any questions? I know Ms. Hines is going to tell you about the actual ordinance amendments to the stormwater.
Mr. Kennedy, I would like to offer, in lieu of our anniversary being tomorrow, would you like a bug?
No, I'm good. I'm going to take one of those blue things over there.
Would you like
Take,
No,
take several, take several blue things over
We,
there.
I like a little help then.
at the,
I already got one.
at the car show, we did get rid of 6 cases of bugs.
This
Awesome.
is for someone who does civics for scouting, I'll say it that way. Very impressed with everybody's photos. I recently went down to the Board of Elections and took your photos. Saw you all, you look very good. I'd like to see some more people sign up before Friday, correct? The 18th is the final day. This is a historical note for some of us who are residents of the Village of Wesley Chapel. There was a time in our short history here as local government that we were almost going to be folded, closed, stopped, because we didn't have enough people to participate in the local government. So I do appreciate people going down, and I don't know what the filing fee now is. Still $5? Good. I want to pay it myself. All right, that's all. I
Thank you.
steal that.
Thank you, Chair Kennery. We
Thank you.
appreciate your
We
time.
don't change your mind on the bug.
There's a whole bunch of that display cabinet.
Yeah.
Take everybody in you want. All right, Ms. Hines?
Thank you very much. As the chairman stated, the first thing on our agenda for the planning department is the stormwater ordinance amendment. We're bringing this back to you. Our planning board has been discussing this for the last 2 months. At our May meeting, the planning board recommended a new section, and what it states is that developments that were approved prior to the adoption of the updated stormwater management ordinance must only comply with the prior stormwater management ordinance development hereafter described in section 153.01. Must comply with the terms of this chapter and other regulations. Basically explaining that anything that is already been approved is already approved. The new stormwater ordinance would not pertain to them. What was in existence at the time of their development is what was the stormwater ordinance that they would be under. At our June meeting, we had a lengthy discussion about the maintenance security. And what we came up with was, and I've had this looked at by Vaughn also, that a party responsible for the operation and maintenance of the stormwater control measures shall, upon the acceptance of the facilities by the village in 5 years after the transfer to the owners association, but not more than 10 years after the acceptance by the village, and annually thereafter provide the stormwater administrator with financial statements indicating the retention of funds equal to at least 10% of the original cost of installation of the stormwater control measures in a segregated account dedicated to the ongoing maintenance of facilities. Planning board had a lengthy discussion about this. They wanted to make sure that the general statutes say that we have to give 5 years from the acceptance of the stormwater. The planning board wanted to make sure that in addition to that first 5 years, that there was a time for the homeowner association or the owners association to have time to make sure they had money in the segregated account. So that if the property's being developed, the development gets turned over to the owners association, that at year 4, that HOA doesn't have to come up with 10% that amount of money in a year. So that's why they wanted to add in that additional 5 years after the transfer of the ownership of the association. And after talking to Vaughn, that's where the 10 years came in to account. Just so that it's not some, indefinite amount of time, so that they can't just be sat on. So, like I said, the planning board wanted to make sure that the homeowners association wasn't just, so the developer's not sitting on it for, say 4 years, turn it over, and then all of a sudden, the homeowners association has to come up with all that money within a year. So that's why they wanted to give that extra 5 years after the transfer. And everything else is as it was presented to y'all originally a couple months ago.
Do we have any idea the timing from once it's gotten that approval to, and that turnover of how this 5 years will work out? Like, is it typical that the stormwater is approved and it's 2 years, or stormwater is approved and it's 6 years before it goes to an HOA? I mean, do we have any data or anything to know that, kind of to the point we are giving these HOAs sufficient time, or that we're also not giving them so long that we're...
Well, the insurance agents asked for the
It's a
original
five, but I
5
mean
that came from. So, off the top of my head, I don't know, but after the discussion with the planning board, that's where we felt that would, based on everybody's knowledge about HOAs and how their individual HOAs have been transferred, that they felt like that would be enough time for that transfer.
The person enforcing and administrating all this would be the stormwater administrator?
Yes,
Okay. And who appoints that person?
the mayor.
Okay. And would that typically be someone within council or someone outside of council? The reason I ask is because of the time period,
It-
about 5 years.
Oh, who would be the stormwater administrator?
Yeah.
It would be a staff person.
Okay, good.
More than likely, we kind of figure that it's going to be the engineer.
Okay.
About this stormwater all the time.
Yes.
The village engineer.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he has looked over all this too. We went based on notes from Bonnie, and then also our village engineer has also looked over all the new changes and looked over it. And it's, yeah, it's good.
And just for my own education, most of what I read in here referred to the Charlotte-Mecklenburg stormwater management plan.
Yes.
I'm assuming there's not one for Union County.
No.
No? Okay.
All right, any further questions for Emily? If not, do we have a motion to approve or not approve the revised stormwater ordinance, or to approve the TA 2025-01 stormwater ordinance amendment?
I make a motion that we approve TA-2025-01 stormwater
Second.
ordinance amendment.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, planning board and planner, for your hard work on that.
So the next item on the agenda for planning is the bond release for Brookmead subdivision. The developer SHF Brookmead LLC has requested the release of their $380,025 performance bond that covers site work improvements, including roads, grades, stormwater, sidewalks, and a contingency for the Brookmead subdivision. NCDOT has inspected the roads of the development and found they are all in accordance with the DOT standards, and has accepted the roads, and the village engineer has reviewed all the other items and found that they have all been completed. So we are, I'm asking on behalf of the developer the release of their bond.
Any questions?
Austin Powers didn't say this. Somebody said, for those who don't remember history or condemned to repeat it or something of that nature. Have we inquired to the HOA of where they stand with this?
Yeah, because the HOA usually comes back at us after the fact and says, you forgot this, or you didn't account for that, or we weren't prepared for, some other thing.
I know that there have been some runoff from storm, some water issues on the roads. NCDOT have been out there and looked at it recently. Our engineers looked at it recently. They've all said that that it's all okay and nothing can be.
But David, to your point, the last time we had a problem with the HOA taking over from the developer, the HOA's representative showed up here and was specifically asking us to hold money back for a specific issue, and we don't seem to have that at this time on this subdivision.
And also, I seem to recall Vaughn saying that there are limits in what's specified within the bond of what it's for that we could do, because we really wanted to be punitive that last time. And I think there were some limits. Vaughn was like, there was things we could do or couldn't do.
But to your point, I think you're right. We should be able to say, by the way, the HOA has given us a thumbs up as well. And I don't think there's anything in place to specifically ask for that.
Is that something that can be done relatively easily, or is that
I mean, I can, people, the contact that I have that questioned about the water, I can reach back out to them. I just don't know how much, like you said, we can.
It's just, in 6 months, are we going to have the president of the HOA of the subdivision standing in front of us saying, why did you release the bond? Because we have this problem. I think that's what David's specifically.
But if the bond is about the performance of the roads, and
Yeah.
DOT's inspected them and accepted them, and DOT's been out there and looked at the runoff issue as the engineer,
Yeah, no, there's
I
no
don't
way
think
we
there's
can,
a problem.
I don't think that we can legally hold anything back. Unless George wants to chime in with a specific.
It's like,
Yeah, we, like I said, they have contacted us, all the parties, like I said, DOT and the engineer looked at it and said, it's done correctly, it's just,
Yeah.
this is just gonna happen.
If they checked all the boxes, I don't think we can hold up those funds.
And I don't have my computer in front of me, so I cannot quote it, but I think that there were some things that were done by not DOT and not the engineers that are potentially causing these things.
With our residents.
Yeah. So that's why DOT's, they're kind of saying, everything's done according, and we're okay with it, but there's been a few things that have been done that are causing this. But it's not something that
Do you know if the residents,
Robert did, or that, anybody.
have they officially formed an HOA for the subdivision?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't see anybody here.
I mean, we can hold and I can talk to them, but I just don't really know.
Well, I don't think it's fair to the developer to hold up his funds just because if they checked all the boxes, I can hold it up any further.
My point would be, my question would be, who do we represent?
Well, I know. I
Or
agree
the
with you.
residents?
I agree with your point 100%, but at the same time, if the residents had a problem, if the HOA had a problem, I think there would be somebody here saying, hey,
If the HOA is aware of it, do we know that the HOA is aware that we're discussing releasing the bonds tonight?
I was,
Probably.
Probably not.
It sounds to me like the problem we're really trying to get at is, what are the performance bonds? How are those requirements within the performance? What are those standards or parameters they're judged against? And what is this process around us releasing them? It's not this particular bond that's a problem. I think it feels like, because we've had this discussion before, that it's really, what is the procedure or process or policy we want to have around these, and is there any leeway to modify the parameters within performance bonds to address the problems we've heard afterwards? right? Or within our process to say, before it goes on the agenda, we validate that the HOA is aware of it, or something like that. That sounds like a process, policy, procedural type of thing, that we're trying to work around. This is way after the fact. I don't even know when this performance bond went in. It was way before my time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very long time, and, yeah,
Right,
that's something
so-
we could procedurally
Yeah,
add
and so
into
if it's,
it.
like, I don't know how we determine what the bond is supposed to cover, right? Like, is that a knowledge gap for council to understand what goes into the performance bonds? Or is there a knowledge gap, HOA? So it just feels like we all have some discomfort around residents kind of being left out. Some developers have been worse than others, we know.
So we could add the box that the HOA is aware that the developer has requested the bonds to be released.
Right.
Yeah, after.
And would you be okay with
that
putting
procedure.
this off until next month and confirming that the HOA is aware of the bond being released and any issues?
That would be my recommendation.
I support that.
Okay, so a motion to continue this to the next meeting?
Yeah, a motion to kick the can down the road till next month and confirm, I have staff confirm that the HOA is aware of the bond being released, and if they have any objections, they'll have until the next meeting to address them, or to notify us of whatever objections they have.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I second that. But I would also like, Lori, as you said, I think that's something procedurally we need to probably work in.
I agree.
Yeah, because nobody ever, just like the planning board, you don't want to approve something conditionally. You want all the boxes checked before you're voting on it, so just.
But we don't even know what the boxes are, because this was done so long ago. And so, and opinions may have changed in that time of that, and that's not something we can hold anybody accountable for. That's what they signed up for, whether we like it or not.
That's reasonable.
Do we have a motion and a second? Do you have some more? No more Austin Powers?
No more.
All in favor? Unanimous? All right.
Who's
Anything?
going to be in charge of contacting, not the developer, but the HOA?
Emily.
Okay, just
Well, she makes the big one. All right, so that takes us to item C, which David wanted to move down, which was the TIA agreement for professional services with RSA.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned whenever I asked for this, that it was just a real simple question. That's a 5-year term. Is that standard for contract like this?
I think I know their attorney reviewed it, we reviewed it, Bob reviewed it. I think it's so we don't have to do this annually.
Okay.
Like, we might not get one for, it might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, so we don't have to
Okay.
annually go through this again, is my understanding.
Got it. Okay. Then I recommend we approve the TIA contract from RS&H.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? All right, any further questions for Ms. Hines before we move on to the commercial center update? All right, if one more person asks me when they can go get a chalupa,
I don't know, I did not heart, I don't know.
Yeah, so today they were in business,
Okay.
so I'm going there for lunch tomorrow.
they are open?
Yes.
Oh, they're open?
Today they look like
Yeah.
it.
Where's our free samples?
Okay, so Emily, give us a shopping center update.
I have issued permits for Publix and for the 3,000 square foot retail that's attached to it.
Any special signs, grand opening banners, or anything that we have to, make sure aren't too close or too big, or
What's the monument sign out there for that they built that's kind of, as you're coming in with that one? No one notices this but me apparently.
What?
It looks like a monument sign when you're coming in from Hickory Tavern.
So the
Oh, yeah.
monument sign or a mock-up wall?
Yeah, it's a mock-up wall.
Mock-up wall, okay, because I was thinking, I mean, it was in there and I'm
Okay.
like, what is this?
that's for construction.
but
Yes.
it just popped up, and then it was just, I was just asking what it was.
Yeah.
What's a mock-up?
It's a simple area. They'll build it and make sure that everything's right before they build the whole thing.
Yeah, you would think you could do it like on a little board or something. Okay.
All right, NCDOT projects, Chair Kennery informed us about the roundabout of Wesley Chapel and Potter Roads. I do hope and pray they are finished before school starts, or at least shortly thereafter. Emily, do you have any update there?
No.
Do you have anything on the Highway 84?
Can we, on that roundabout?
Sure.
An observation, and maybe you have an opinion
Okay.
on mine, but, so the detour set, like, if you're coming from Potter, from Stallings down, you don't see the detour sign until you get down to Beulah Church. And so you would go through that roundabout, get to Beulah Church, have to go up to Beulah Church, and be right back on Wax City Trail. So either way, you're going east or north or south, right? And it's kind of like, it seems like they could have put the detour sign there at the roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
And
did.
then at Beulah Church and just like only through traffic instead of, because I saw somebody today, because I was waiting going north, and I saw somebody come down and make a right turn and have to come up and then went like that, and I was like,
So when they had permission to close the road down on that Monday, and they officially closed the road at 5 o'clock, that's when they put up the road barriers. The traffic light was still working,
yeah,
right? They put up their signs, they put up the road barriers to close the road, quote, officially as DOT standards. Just today, he was still putting up detour signs and permanent road closed signs, especially on the Wesley Chapel part from the roundabout, we'll say Church of the Redeemer going
Right.
down, and they're still putting up signs now on Potter Road.
okay,
And the way DOT worked at the roundabout with detour is you have to go all the way on Gold Mine to Airport Road, turn at the traffic circle at Airport Road, and come all the way back on 84.
yeah, I was more at Waxhaw
Yeah,
and
it's the same.
Beulah Church,
They-
that they would let people go from Waxhaw Union Trail roundabout, Potter, Waxhaw Union Trail roundabout, down Potter to Beulah to roundabout, instead of just cutting them off and making them go straight.
I believe when the discussion was they didn't want to have any people directing traffic like they've done in the past here for the roundabouts.
Wow, you couldn't put the glow sign just down there?
They're doing the roundabout, they did the detours so they wouldn't have to have anybody direct traffic at any peak times or any times. Like in the past, we've had people direct traffic for the Waxhaw, Newtown, Waxhaw Indian Trail around Newtown roundabout when that was built. They had people directing traffic at Billy Howie and Waxhaw Indian Trail Road when they did the roundabout at,
Okay. It just seems like you're going around there, to
Yes.
get,
they're bringing you out longer. So they closed the road, after they closed the road officially, they had the detour signs, some of them put up. Then after that, they officially took down the traffic light, and now they're ripping up the road.
So it probably has to do with traffic counts.
What?
yeah.
Probably
It
has
just
to do with
seems-
traffic counts and keeping less people on the road. Somebody was also watching the other stoplight at Shamwood today, and I was like, wrong time of year. Come back in September. Yeah.
Thank you.
We also got a concerned resident about the bridge development on,
She had a question.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say too, we mentioned Jim Parker, we have asked Deputy Wicker to step up patrol there because we have received complaints of speeding last week. And not
And he
traffic,
has.
so, yeah, so he said,
He get you?
Chuck's seen him twice already sitting there, so.
I did get an email phone call from a concerned resident about the bridge replacement on Newtown, because he went up closely and it looked like no work had been done, but DOT confirmed they had replaced like a 14-inch water main or something intense. So they said, don't worry, even though it's not necessarily visible to the public, there's been a lot of work done there. They are on track to finish. They're also scheduled to finish like the first week or two in September. So hopefully all of these projects finish a little bit early, more on time. That would be
I'm not holding my breath.
right. Emily, do you have any other updates about these? No. I would before the next council meeting, would you mind looking in on that turn lane at Newtown and Cuthbertson? They were doing all this work and then all of a sudden, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I know, that looking at the information that I have from CRCDO, it's still in the design phase.
Well, but not the turn lane for the developer that they were supposed to put in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
not
developer.
the roundabout.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
Oh, not the right,
Not the roundabout,
The
but
developer.
the turn lane that the developer's supposed to put in. They were working on it real hard, the lane's cleared, and then they just,
Okay.
and now it's when I would think they would be doing it, because they weren't having to do it at night, it's cool in, so. All right, any further questions about infrastructure and development? If not, that leads us to mayor and council comments. Who wants to go first?
I'll start.
Okay.
For those of you who got the weird email, as a hobby, I collect flashlights and laser flashlights. And I purchased one from a gentleman in China. I specifically asked him before I purchased it if it did this, this, and this. And he said, yeah, it does this, this, and this. And when I got it, it didn't do this, this, and this. So I called him up, spent about a week trying to get it to fix it. He didn't. And when after a while, I said, look, I just want to send this thing back to you. And that's when the problem started. And, basically, I called the credit card company and said, look, I bought this thing, it doesn't work. I want to send it back. The guy said, well, you can't send it back because it's, I said, well, he changed his policy basically after the fact. And then from there, he started making up a story, which I think Amanda got specifically during the car show. And then there was another one.
Yeah.
I just want you to know, because I bought and then tried to return a flashlight, I did not kill this guy's daughter, which he, by the way, he doesn't have a daughter. I did the research. He just made up a story to make me look bad. So,
How
anybody has
bizarre.
any specific?
Bizarre.
Yeah. Buy a flashlight and try to return it, and then all of a sudden he's got me as a murderer of his daughter because she got fired and then jumped off a building or something. It's a weird story. But the daughter who jumped off the building texted me the next day and said, I'm sorry. Everything's fine. I apologize for making up this story and everything else. And then about a week later, another email went out to more people than just the council. And if anybody has any specific questions about that, please see me. But it's all made up.
So all these packages that Amazon has delivered that says paid for by Mike Almo, delivered to the boys, I need to send those back.
Well, I wanted to see if there was anybody in the audience that didn't recognize tonight, so just in case. But I apologize for buying something and then trying to return it and having nothing but issues. And I don't know why this guy thinks that the best way to handle this is to make up stuff. So, my apologies.
I just hope it doesn't, cause you any grief more than it has already.
All he had was my name and my address, and he Googled me and found out I was a councilman, and then he gathered everyone else's public email addresses, and then just made up the story and sent it out to everybody.
It's terrible.
So, even the image on the email is right off the internet. Which is Stockholm.
Just like don't believe it when you get an email from me asking about some Apple gift cards.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
That happened to me 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't want you to buy
Can you do me a
something.
favor? Let me snap and get cards. It's not going to be.
Hopefully it goes away.
I talked to the credit card company today because I've been gone for the last 3 weeks, and they said, yeah, we're working on it. There's nothing they can do about the defamation of character because this guy's in a different country. But don't believe everything you hear.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Next, who wants to go?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I can't wait to get on social media tonight and say that there's been friction and all kinds of controversy with the Wesley Chapel Village Council because we had 3 to 2 votes.
I know. We had
It is so
2 tiebreakers.
I'm glad you remembered how
I know.
it happened so
It
fast.
was hard.
On a serious note, and I think there was an email that went out about this CRTVO has started their public comment period, and it actually ends this week, I guess, end of this week, on the physically constrained project list for the 2025 MTP plan. If you get a chance, and so much as of the few that have been approved for Union County, one of them's in West Chapel, so, if you get a chance to go on and comment about that, that would be great. I'll send you a $10 Apple gift card, maybe.
Thank you all for coming and sitting through this wonderful meeting. It's 8:32, we were supposed to get on at 8:50, so I will expect my $10 Apple gift card.
We'll take the Taco Bell.
So if I can have a motion to adjourn.
So motion.
Second.
Second by Deb, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you all.